Can you relate? When I first started my business, I often heard people say, make sure you track your numbers for tax purposes. I would nod my head like I understood, but inside, I was freaking out. I understand that I need to track numbers, but what numbers? Do they need to be organized in a certain way? What is most important to know? Do I only need to track some things but not others? I had no idea. So instead of doing anything, I just froze and I did nothing, which is not smart. Then at the end of the year, I was back to spending hours sifting through business receipts and bank statements, trying to figure out those mysterious numbers that I needed to track. I would get so annoyed and be so confused every time tax season came around, not sure if I was doing the right thing or finding the right numbers. I finally had enough and I took the time to create a spreadsheet that not only tracked my numbers for tax purposes, but also allowed me to see how my business was doing financially throughout any point of the year. It was a win-win. So in this video, I am going to walk you through what numbers you should be tracking throughout the year so you can set yourself up successfully for tax season. Hi, my name's Heather and I am a wedding and senior photographer based in PA. On this channel, I love educating other photographers about taxes and finances as a small business owner. I'm so excited that you're here. This video is brought to you by my 15 business tax category breakdowns guide. In this guide, I'll walk you through the 15 most common tax write-off categories and what expenses fall under each of them. Plus, I'll give you a few caveats that you should know about a few of these different categories. This guide pairs perfectly with this video because the different write-off categories is something you should be tracking in your business for tax purposes. You can grab this guide at the link in the show notes and follow along as I reference it. Now, let's dive into creating your own spreadsheet for tracking your numbers for tax purposes. Now, the first thing that I want to go over is setting up the basics of your tax prep spreadsheet. So first off, what software should you use to be creating this spreadsheet? This is really up to you. You could use Excel or Google Sheets, whatever works best for your workflow. Now, I personally prefer Google Sheets because then I can access it anywhere at any time and not have to be reliant on having a hard drive to be able to update anything on my spreadsheet. Just makes it easier to know that if I need to input something right away so I don't forget it, I easily can pull up my spreadsheet and add whatever it is. Now, the next thing I want to go over is the structure of your spreadsheet. What should you be tracking? Some of the big things you want to make sure that you're tracking is your income, your overall expenses, and then also a breakdown of your different deductions and what expenses fall under each of them. So as you can see here in the image, I have the first two columns of the spreadsheet dedicated to income. The next two columns are dedicated to expenses, and then also it takes it a step further and breaks down the different deduction categories so that I can easily organize my expenses based off of which category they fall under. Now, the final column and area of this spreadsheet I'm going to talk about in a little bit, and we're going to dive into some other things that you can use the spreadsheet for that can help you both in tax purposes, but also just in your business financially to know where it is at any given point. So let's go ahead and dive into the income and what you should be tracking with your income. But before we do that, I just want to let you know that this spreadsheet that you're looking at is actually one that you can find in my shop. It's the tax prep spreadsheet. If you're a little bit overwhelmed about creating spreadsheets and using Excel or Google Sheets, take a deep breath. You can go ahead and grab this in the shop and it will already have all of this structure laid out for you. Not only does it have the structure that we're going to reference, but it also is set up to calculate your totals for each deduction category per month and per year. Plus, it'll total up your income monthly and yearly and give you a pulse point on your business at any moment. In addition to that, it also has space for you to track your mileage or take note of your sales tax that you're going to owe for your business throughout the year. This is a spreadsheet already ready for you so that all you need to do is when expenses or income comes in, you're making sure that you're inputting it into this spreadsheet and you're going to be ready to go for when tax season comes around. All right, now let's jump into tracking income. So as you can see in this spreadsheet, I have 2 columns set aside for income. That is just so that I can track who it's from and what the purpose was, so why they were paying me. And then the second column is the amount that they paid me. Now, you could take this a step further if you want to and color coordinate the different types of income that you receive, whether it's for a print sale or a client payment. You could even break that out into weddings or seniors or families. That is totally up to you. I actually have a separate spreadsheet that I break all of that stuff out into. So this spreadsheet is specifically dedicated to the income overall that I'm receiving. And so in this spreadsheet, I just want to know how much I'm getting paid and what the purpose was for so that I can get a total overall of how much income I made throughout the year. No matter how you lay it out, you want to make sure you note who the payment is from, what it was for, and how much hit your bank account. That's the most important things when it comes to your taxes and the numbers that you need to know. Now, as we move over in the next 3 columns under the expenses section, you can see that I have it broken out into separate different gridded areas. Now, this is so that I can not only track my expenses just in general for my business throughout the year, but I can also start categorizing them into the different types of deduction categories that has to do with your taxes. So it's things like advertising or bank charges or education or travel costs. All of those categories that you can find in that freebie that I mentioned, where you can see the most common 15 business tax categories. That is how I laid out this section. I took those 15 most common ones and then I added a couple other ones that were specific to my business, and I broke them out so that as an expense comes in and I need to track it, I go into here and in the first column, I write down what it was for. The second column, I write down who I paid it to and the date I made the payment. And then finally, in the third column, I write down how much I paid. And so you can see that it's going to total each of those different deduction categories on their own, and then also give me a total overall of my expenses for that month. This is giving me not only, like I mentioned, the numbers that I need to send off to my accountant and CPA, but also it's just letting me know where my business is financially and if I'm making a profit. Now, as you can see in the final column, that's where I've taken things a step further in analyzing and summarizing the data that I've inputted for my income and expenses. I want to be able to easily see how much income I make per month and then how much I have remaining after expenses are taken out. I want to see how much money I'm paying in each of those different expense categories. And I have that separated out into a pie chart so that if I feel like one of those pieces of the pie are bigger than what it should be, I can visually see it and then be able to make changes in my business throughout the year to help save my business money as we go. So this spreadsheet is more than just my tax prep spreadsheet. It helps me see my income and my expenses and total those numbers so that I can easily send them off to my accountant. But it also lets me just see where my business is financially at any given week. So I highly recommend creating a spreadsheet where you're tracking your income, you're tracking your expenses, you're organizing those expenses into the different tax deduction categories so that you can easily send those totals off to your accountant. And then if you'd like to take it a step further and create some different charts where you can analyze your expenses based off of your income and also track your mileage and your sales tax that you owe, that would be just a benefit to creating this spreadsheet for your own business. In addition to this, I just want to mention that as your business continues to grow, this is something that you can outsource later on. QuickBooks is a great software that you can use that will track all of this stuff for you. It connects to your bank account so that it easily can track and start organizing your numbers as soon as it hits the bank account. So that's just something that you can work up towards. But for now, a spreadsheet like this is all you need to make sure that you're organized and ready for when tax season comes around, so you have your numbers prepared for your accountant or CPA. If you have any questions about this specific spreadsheet or anything that I mentioned, feel free to drop them below in the comments. I would love to help answer them for you so that you can start preparing your numbers throughout the year and have a little less stress when it comes to tax season. In addition, if you found this video helpful, I would love if you hit the subscribe button. Also, feel free to send this video to one of your business besties so that they can create their own spreadsheet for their business and be ready when they meet with their accountant and CPA. Thank you again so much for joining me. And just a quick reminder, don't forget to grab that freebie down in the show notes so that you can see what some of the most important tax deduction categories are. So as you're creating your own spreadsheet, you can easily add them in and make sure you're organizing your expenses correctly. Thank you again, and I cannot wait to see you in the next one. Bye, guys.